What's going on YouTube? Today we're checking out one of my favorite small knives from Shirogorov, the Neon NL. And unbeknownst to me, this beautiful knife, I didn't realize what the NL stood for. So fun fact, NL is some kind of play on words with, I guess, a Russian meaning for inlay. I-N-L-A-Y. So inlay. So when we talk about the Shirogorov Neon NL, we are talking about an inlay. And what better inlay to have than on this beautiful Green Micarta, which is kind of stuck on there, I would assume. So as like anything with the videos that I put up here, this is more of a conversation. This is not an in-depth discussion on technical parameters of each knife or anything like that. This is literally just let's talk about a cool knife, and if you guys like it, awesome. If not, you're not going to offend me. But anyway, let's get started. Let's chat about this one. Let's make some comparisons. So, first and foremost, what are we working with here, guys? So this is their small knife, and let's be honest. When people hear small or they medium or whatever, they automatically think that these knives are a lot smaller than they are. So let's get some measurements. On the blade, we're at 3.5 inches. Okay, that's a very normal sized knife. Overall, we're under 8. What are we at? 7 and 5/8 maybe. 7 and 5/8, somewhere in that conversation. So overall, it's a big knife. It's not small, and it's just Shirogorov. So it's, you know, that it's a little thinner than normal, right? So where they make their bread and butter is the carry profile on these, which is just tremendously amazing. Technical term, obviously, but really, really dig it. Really, really dig it. Okay, so let's take a look at this in the hand here. So 3.5 inch blade, short profile. I can still, if I'm holding this, you can hopefully see, I still have some of this lanyard area coming off. So I've got extra large hands, as you know, and or maybe you know, I don't know if you know or anything, but I've got extra large hands, and this guy fits me perfectly. The jimping for me, you know, it's good. It's not bad by any stretch, which looks great. Feels nice and smooth for a production knife, which is what you want. The blade is their Chromax PM. Now, this knife as well, I believe they offered it at one point. I don't know when that was, but I thought they had an LMAX version of it, or a variant of it, which, you know, LMAX, Chromax, they're both powder metals. Chromax is a little better in just about every way. Kind of all around, it's just a little bit more tough, a little bit more durable, a little bit sharper, holds the edge a little better. So it's a real nice overall comparison to the price point on this knife, which I haven't discussed, but this particular one I believe is $550. Don't quote me on that, but it's $550 US. Which, you know, people are going to complain, oh, you know, that's a very expensive knife. You know what? It's no different than a Chris Reeves. You're right in the plain Jane Chris Reeves territory for a Neon NL. And you get all the benefits of a lot of the Shirogorov line with this knife. And we're going to talk about that. So, quick comparison here. We're going to show you the Knife Center edition of this beautiful knife. So this guy, I don't have a nickname for it quite yet. I'm kind of thinking Eye of the Tiger, because it's kind of got a tiger vibe to it. Looks real nice. If the camera wants to focus. Looks real nice, actually. So you can see the inlays on that guy. Just stunning. And, you know, just it's the same knife, just different patterns. So every now and then these will pop up, and I believe they did a quantum in this as well. So they will have that. And then the only other Neon that I have here I just got in And this is the Neon Zero. So a little bit different price point wise across the board here. But I will say this, all very cool knives. And, you know, unless you're trying to pair the Neon Zero to something comparable, like your F95 Zero, if you want like a small and a big, you know, I will say this. The Neon NL has tremendous value in it, in its features. So let's just do a quick rundown. So obviously these are the same, both multi-row bearings. Both don't have backspacer on them. Now if we get into, hopefully nothing falls over here, if we look at the Neon Zero, this is an M390 instead of Chromax. So that's kind of the big difference, right? The main difference is you're getting a better blade, and then on the back, you're getting this backspacer, which looks sharp, looks great, it feels great in hand. I don't think dimensionally, maybe I don't need all these up here, let's just use the standard one here. Dimensionally, I don't think they're all that different, despite it looking bigger with that big, thick backspacer on there. You know, without getting out calipers and looking, I don't think they're that different. Tell me. In hand, I feel like this is actually the thinner of the two, just because of the micarta. I don't know if that's true. I wish I could throw some digital calipers on it, but it's certainly a welcome addition. Both feel good. Maybe that is fatter. I don't know. I'll have to measure it at some point here. I will say this as well, comparing the two, that the big difference I notice as well is having a plain Jane handle versus a little bit of grip. On a knife this size, it's certainly welcome. I'm not complaining about having a little extra grip. Some people might, but I'm not complaining at all. And if anything, it's almost like throwing a little, in a way, throwing like a little 3M on the hood of your car, and that you're going to scratch up the micarta and not damage the handle. Whether or not that's replaceable, that's a different conversation, and I don't know the answer to that. But both look terrific. Both are great knives. Dimensionally, I think they're the same. Some different jimping, obviously, different backspacer, but I think they're the same thing. Okay? So we'll come back to that. Okay. So when we talked earlier about some of the other Shirogorovs in the line, we talked about single row bearing versus multi-row bearing versus roller bearing. This guy is a multi-row bearing out of the box, which is tremendous. You can see that. I don't know if it's going to show you just based on lighting. I'll move one over here. It's on the inside of the handle there. See MRBS just above the pivot. Hopefully it shows that, or at least kind of. The light might not show it. But MRBS, it's in the handle, and it's honestly great. It's the single row bearing system is what starts out in the larger sizes, like the Quantum. This guy here. I'll zoom out to show that. So this is your standard Quantum. This is a single row bearing knife. Great knife. Love this knife. And, you know, often these two knives are kind of painted in the exact same way because it's like, okay, well, these are the entry points for their essential lines being both in titanium. So, you know, do I go single row? Do I go multi-row? Well, the difference here is you're starting at multi-row bearings on the Neon, which is awesome. You're not starting at multi-row. You're starting on single row bearings on the Quantum. To start at multi-row bearings on the Quantum, I think this guy is your entry point in that regards, the R1P. And that guy's a lot more money than this Quantum, and a heck of a lot more money than this Neon. Same metals, a couple different features here and there. I've broken this guy down in another video, so you can certainly look at that. Size comparison, and I'll get back on the roller bearings. I know it's a very dry topic, and it needs some nano oil to kind of make it a little nicer. But We'll kind of get back into that. Size comparison, so there's your full-size Shiro, obviously. I'd like to compare it with a Chris Reeves large and small Sebenza as well, just for reference points. So there's your large, and your small is somewhere off the screen here. There we go. There's your small Sebenza, to give you an idea. So, you know, it is not by any means a small knife, the Neon. It's very medium, very mid-size. And if you compare the blade to blade on the large Sebenza, it's gotta be close. Like, look at that. It's right there, but just such a smaller form factor and size in the handle. So, you know, it's kind of a medium knife. I will also compare it with a bug out, just because everybody seems to know what size a bug out is, and for once I actually have my bug out with me. Usually this is a user, guys, so it's not, you know, there's your bug out. So very similar to a bug out in size, a little bit bigger blade, but you know what, very fair comparison in terms of, like, you know what, this is everybody's almost unanimous EDC knife, yet the Neon isn't really talked about in that same regard. The Neon is almost the same all around, actually. It's a little bit thicker, way better blade on it, way better, full tie, it's a little heavier, but I'm telling you, you carry the Neon around, and it is a much more substantial feeling knife than the bug out. Like, do you guys remember this bug out? How you can, like, I think I put a video up on this. You can, like, touch the scales together here. It's just, it's almost embarrassing. Look at that. Anyway, well, that's a Benchmade problem, not a Shirogorov problem. So let's get into some of the details on this knife. So it's obviously a flipper, frame lock. Real nice. I'll flick this guy open a few times. I've got the mic down in the corner there, so you might get some good sound. You know, of that multi-row bearing system, which I promised I wouldn't talk about, but I will. So fires out super easy. I love the the finger cutout here for your finger when you do shoot it out. It just fits so nicely in there. And if you've had other Shiros, like a F95T or an F95 or a Quantum, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. These are well thought out, well designed user knives. It's just, everything's rounded, everything's smooth on it. There's no concerns there. Even the pivot, it's just nice and soft. If we look down to the lock bar here, we can see we've got a replaceable metal insert. You know, you're not going to worry about that. You're not going to wear this knife out, even if it was full tie. But it is nice peace of mind to have that, where if there's any defects, I'm sure you could go through the service center and replace that piece. If you're getting lock stick, or if you squeeze it and wear it out, or wear a notch in it, etc. You do have an over travel, I believe. Yeah. Well, you can actually kind of see it. Looking at the camera, the light's hitting it just right. You can see it on the actual frame there, which is cool. Really nice smooth feel. Unlike the F95, this guy does not, where you have the lock bar here, it does not stick up to the same extent as the F95 from the side. So if we roll the knife and the camera doesn't screw me over here, you can see it pokes up just a hair, but not nearly as much. And what I'll do here is I'll find the turtle. I actually just filmed a video on the turtle. I don't know if that's even on the channel yet, but if you look, see here how the frame lock kind of sticks up over the other side. See what I'm saying? When you roll that, see that? So you don't have that on the Neon, which isn't a deal breaker. Certainly be nice, but it's not, certainly not a deal breaker. Really nice milling all inside the actual clip here as well. And this is something that it's so difficult to show on camera without an insane level of light hitting this. And I'll try. And remember, I'm looking at a 1-inch screen here, so I don't even know if the 4K video is going to be picking this up. But if we look, I'm hammering this thing with light so you can kind of see here. But this is all like micro milled in here, which is beautiful. It looks real nice. Trust me. Just trust me. It looks real nice if the light does decide to cooperate. The pocket clip itself is a beautiful design. It's a beautiful thing, as Shabazz would say. I love that the design on it, in that one side of it here is weighted onto the frame itself, so that when you squeeze it and you're trying to shoot this out, or when you're pulling the tab, you're not weighting the lock bar. And that's by design, I would imagine. A few knives have a couple ways around that, but I just love it. And what I'll do to show that, in case you're new here, which I'd assume you're not because you're looking at a Shirogorov, but I will say, if you're squeezing the knife right in your hand, say you're trying to shoot it out, and you have a finger leaning on the lock bar like this, it's going to be hard, right? So I'm showing you this. It's going to be hard to get that knife to open because you're weighting the lock bar. Okay, and that sucks. So how do they get around that? Well, when you're weighting the knife in your hand, and your hand's covering the knife itself, and it's pushing down onto the frame, well, this frame deflects in the form of this clip, that pressure onto this side of the lock bar, or not the lock bar, sorry, onto this side of the frame. So when this puppy's in your hand, and you're holding it, and your paws are on top of the pocket clip, and you're holding it, your weight's not on the lock bar essentially. So that's how I know if my fingers are on top of it like so, and my thumb's on this side, I know that there's zero pressure on the lock. It's going to open every time. And this is something they do as well on some of their other knives. Just like that large Quantum that's sitting right here, same design. In a lot of ways, these are basically the same, or not basically the same, very similarly designed in a lot of ways, as you can kind of see here. That pocket clip is just a thing of beauty. It's just so well designed, so nice. I really like it. So certainly well engineered product. Now on the back of this knife, we also have access to, if you want to put on a lanyard, you can. There's a spot for it. And, looking at some of these Shirogorov beads online, I'm starting to really want to do this. I don't know why, just like some of these brass ones, they just look so sharp. And maybe on a smaller knife like this, maybe a bead or two might not hurt. It certainly adds to the cool factor, that's for sure. This guy is obviously on the tip here, and I'm going to close this so I don't cut my hand while I'm trying to show you this. We've got these little three-pronged little guards here for the blade, and one of the cool things about this is they're fitting so much flippin' knife, pun intended, into this frame that my understanding for the reason for these is that it just allows more blade to go in. You can put something, you can drill that frame out, you can cover it, that blade stock, in some other way for sure. But by doing this, you're allowing to get that extra little bit of blade in the handle, and that is it just makes so much sense. Now, I'm not saying that this is the end all be all in designs, because obviously, like on the Zero, they have gone away with that. And kind of re-engineered around a different system there to get your pocket clip on. I have seen some of those online. Guys have broken them, dropping them particularly. So it happens. But, with that warranty, I'm sure it can be taken care of. It's really not a big deal. And you must really have to drop this thing hard because it's solid. It's as solid as a rock. I love it. In case you haven't seen the blade centering without looking here, this guy is, it's dead on. Like, it's a Shirogorov, guys. If it's not dead on, it's not a Shirogorov. And I'm not a homer. I'm Canadian. With all the politics of Russia going on right now, or was going on, depending on when you watch this. You know, I've got several friends who are Russian and are, you know, really great guys, and I really like them. And, you know, Russia has some great people, and they make great, absolutely great products. Absolutely great products. It's very, very industrialized, obviously, and they know what the hell they're doing. They make fantastic knives. I would love to meet some of these guys, Sergey and whatnot, and just wring some ideas off them to hear, you know, how they arrived at this design, and how, you know, just some of these basic questions that, you know, I might ask a little question about this flipper tab, for example. Oh, why'd you do it this way? And it's like, they probably did it that way. And I'm just using this as an example. They probably did it that way for a reason that has nothing to do with it, and might have everything to do with some other location on the knife. These guys are thinking 2, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead. Unlike me, who can barely think 1 step ahead. On the inside of this as well, without taking off anything, you can see there's definitely a little bit of milling inside, just to kind of take some weight off of everything. Looks good, nothing too crazy, not as detailed as well as perhaps some of the other Shiros on the inside. Not the Quantum, but the Gen 2 certainly. And maybe what I'll do here, let's get this blade out. See if I can get a better look inside here with my little light. This has to be the hardest thing to show on camera, because I can't physically touch the focusing while doing this. Anyway, there is a little bit of milling on the inside. Yes, it looks good. Is it required on this knife? It's not heavy. There you go, there's some. It's not anything I'd really be worried about for weight. As an EDC, it's a perfect knife. If I was buying a knife for a family or friend who'd never had a Shirogorov, I think that showing them a Quantum with a nice Persian blade and 4-inch, I think that might be a little intimidating for them. Whereas you show them a Neon, and I think that in their head that would still be a very large pocket knife, honestly. So I think for most people, this Shirogorov Neon NL is an excellent entry point into the Shiro lineup in the small size, and you're not going to be disappointed with the end result. You get multi-row bearings, Chromax PM blade, you get all the attention to detail and milling that the other knives have. You've got this micarta handle cover, which looks terrific on both sides. You've got the pocket clip. You've got those excellent Shirogorov, quote, proprietary screws, aka a screwdriver will open them. Don't use a screwdriver, please get the tool, or use a penny. I've shown this in other videos. I have a penny right here that I've used on hinderers for their pivot, just because it's softer. It's a softer metal and it won't mar anything. You can use a credit card as well. Just fold it over. A lot of different ways to open this guy up. The multi-row bearing system is not particularly intuitive if you don't know what you're doing. So I would suggest, unless you've opened up a knife before, don't crack it open if it's your first one, because there's going to be some loose ball bearings on a track. That might be a bit of a problem. You've got the excellent idea on the back here. If you want to run that lanyard, you can do so. I'm not a lanyard guy, but because of this knife, I may consider it. And then in terms of the blade being in the handle, you've got the triple prong covering things, and I'm telling you, you're not gonna cut yourself. You're not gonna cut yourself at all there. It's just an absolute thing of beauty. It's a work of art, and based on the market with these guys, they're essentially, an investment that you can carry. And I bet you even on a Neon or a Quantum Basic, carry this for a few years. If it's not damaged, you're probably getting back what you paid for it, or more. I will say this: there is a knife in between these knives that we talked about in size from their custom division. I was lucky enough to just land one of these, and I will show the difference. And it's not in the same tier, it's not in the same league, but I did want to show that there is a knife in between them. So this is the Stellaris, and a lot of people are saying this might actually be the perfect one knife to own. They do make a titanium handled version called the Stellar, which is a little different conversation all around, but there is something in between. If you say the jump between the two is a little big, which I understand it's a 1/2 inch blade size in jump, but there is an option in the middle if you want to spend a little bit more money. And you know, a lot of the time they come up with these specialty knives because there's probably something cooking in the kitchen, and you know, that is a pretty big opportunity for Shiro. They might, I don't know anything, I don't have insider info, I'm not Sergey, but you never know what's going on in the background. Check demand and maybe they'll do something with it, right? So that's kind of my overall review or overview of the Neon NL inlay. The Green Micarta looks terrific, and it's kind of just stuck on there, I should say. I don't think I've even mentioned that at all or once. And some close-ups on that. It kind of has a worn out look right from the factory, which is cool, so you don't have to worry about it. You can kind of see on this on the pocket clip here. I don't know if that's like I haven't carried this one, so I don't know why it looks different, but it kind of has a worn look on it, which is cool. And it's a lot smoother than it looks. So when you're looking at this on camera, you'll probably think, oh, it's very rough. It looks rough, but it's actually very smooth, which is kind of funny, because you wouldn't think that. So anyway, nice little angle of the Chromax PM logo on there as well. Okay guys, well I think I'm going to wrap things up on this. I've shown you the knife, talked about it. I don't know what else I can really discuss with it. So that will be the knife, and let's get a screen grab for the front of the channel here. And yeah, so that'll be it guys. If you have any questions, certainly like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. But if you have questions, you know, hit me up below. I read every single one of them. I've got nothing but time for them, so I'll get back to you with anything you have, or at least find out the answer. Okay, thanks for stopping by. Have a great week, and this guy is for sale in the store, bladezilla.ca. Okay, thanks guys. Later.